Hey everyone, welcome to the investigation podcast, Curio Roar Crime. Subscribe to the podcast or don't. Take control of your own life. Today, we're looking into a really fascinating case. It's the story of Alcio Docena. He was a sculptor, and he had incredible talent. Well, his talent kind of landed him in hot water.
It really makes you think about authenticity in art, like how much is tied to the artist and the history behind it. Dasena's story is a wild one. Art forgery, the art market, it's all pretty murky.
Yeah, for sure. This guy, his work was in some of the biggest museums, but nobody knew who he was when he was alive. It's crazy. So where do we even start with this?
Well, Dasena's story starts in Italy, back in 1878, Cremona, to be exact. The city was famous for its violins, the craftsmanship, but art was a big deal there too. You can imagine young Dawsina soaking it all in, developing his talent.
Sounds like he was born to be an artist.
You'd think, right? But even though he was clearly skilled, Dawsina never really made it in the academic art world. It's almost like something was holding him back, pushing him down a different path, a secret one.
That's so interesting. You hear about that a lot, actually.
Really?
Art forgers,
Yeah.
wanting recognition, like they have something to prove to the world that rejected them. I think that's what it was with Dossena.
Hard to say for sure, but it's definitely a pattern. In Dosena's case, he ended up in a stonemason's workshop. And that, ironically, is where he really got good. Marble work, restoration, the same skills that would make him such a good forger later.
Surrounded by art, working with it every day, but still not getting the credit. You can almost feel the frustration building.
Absolutely. And then he moves to Rome, early 1900s. Rome was the place to be for art. Collectors, artists, everyone was there. This mix of creativity and, well, money. It was the perfect place for someone like Dossena, with his skills and ambitions, both the good kind and the not-so-good kind.
And this is where Alfredo Fasoli comes in, right? The antique dealer. The
business partner.
Exactly. Their partnership, it started out normal enough. Dossena sold Fasoli a piece, a beautiful bas relief, Madonna and Child. Fasoli thought it was ancient, a real antique. But there was a twist. Oh, I bet there was. This wasn't your average sculpture, was it?
Not at all. It was clay. Dawsina had aged it to look centuries old. Can you imagine Fasoli's face when he found out?
I don't think he was too happy about being fooled. Did he go after Dossena? Try to expose him.
That's the thing. He was furious at first. But then, I think he saw the potential. Money to be made. Instead of going to the police or whatever, he had a different idea. He realized Dawsina was good. Really good. And with Fasoli's connections.
So they teamed up, the forger and the dealer. A match made in, well, not heaven exactly. This is like a classic recipe for a con, isn't it?
It's like something out of a movie. They got Dawsina a workshop, and he just started churning these things out, not copies. Dawsina was creating original pieces, made to look like they were from different time periods. Renaissance, ancient Greece and Rome, even Gothic. Meticulous attention to detail.
Hold on. How did he make these look so old? I mean, we're talking fooling experts here. Art historians. People who study this stuff their whole lives.
That's where the technical skill comes in. Dawsina used all these different techniques. Ingenious. And a bit crazy, too. He'd sandblast the marble, to make it look eroded. Acid baths to darken the stone, give it that old look. He even damaged the sculptures on purpose to make them look worn, like they'd been around for centuries.
He damaged his own work. On purpose. Wouldn't an artist want to preserve their work?
That's what's so weird about Dossena. He was blurring the lines, creating and destroying. He knew that a fake, to be believable, it couldn't just look old, it had to feel old. All the little imperfections, the signs of age, you find in real ancient stuff.
Wow. He was really committed to this whole scheme, wasn't he? Burning sculptures with fire to make them look older, kind of mind-blowing.
It's like he was playing a role, becoming this ultimate forger, willing to do anything to make it believable. But the question is, was it all just about the money? Or was there something else? Did he enjoy the challenge, the thrill of fooling everyone?
That's a great question. We should definitely dig into that more. But for now, let's talk about, the success of this whole thing. Didn't some of his stuff end up in major museums?
Yeah.
Some of the most famous ones in the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Some of the top art historians, they were fooled. The Boston Museum of Fine Arts, they bought a sarcophagus attributed to this Renaissance sculptor Mino da Fiesole, $100,000. The Metropolitan Museum of Art, they got a Greek core. Later, it turned out it was all Dossena.
It's crazy to think about. His work just sitting there on display. Nobody had a clue. It's like he was playing this game with the entire art world.
And winning. But, all games, they have to end sometime. The question is, what happened? What brought Dawsena's little world crashing down? So before the break, we were talking about how Dossena was getting away with this whole thing, his forgeries in museums, nobody suspecting a thing. But things were going to change.
Yeah, it seems like it was all bound to fall apart at some point. What was it that finally brought the whole operation down?
Well, it all started with a tragedy, actually. Dosena's wife passed away, and he was left with all these expenses, medical bills, funeral costs. It hit him hard financially, which is kind of ironic, right? I mean, his forgeries were making other people rich.
So he needed money, and he turned to Fasoli for help.
Exactly. He went to Fasoli, asked for an advance for a sculpture he was working on. Can you imagine that? The master forger can't even afford basic stuff.
What did Fasoli do? Did he help him out? I mean, they were partners, right?
Nope. Fasoli, well, maybe he knew it was all about to come crashing down. Or maybe he was just greedy. Either way, he refused. And that was it for Dossena. Betrayed, broke, and angry, he decided to do something drastic.
He blew the whistle on the whole thing.
That's right. Dossena, he felt like he'd been cheated by Fasoli, by the art world that never really gave him a chance. He hired a lawyer and told everyone he was the one behind all those ancient masterpieces. You can imagine the reaction. Pure chaos.
Those museums must have freaked out, thinking some of their best stuff was fake, all made by one guy. It's unbelievable.
Total scandal. The newspapers, they ate it up. Master forger of Rome, that's what they called him. Museums trying to figure out what was real, what was fake. Fasoli, of course, he denied everything. Said Dossena was making it all up, trying to blackmail him.
What a mess.
Yeah.
But then there's another layer to this. The politics. This was Mussolini's Italy. They were all about image, national pride. This couldn't have been good for them.
Definitely not. Italian art, it was a big deal for them, part of their identity. And now, here's Dossena saying some of their most famous ancient treasures were actually fakes. Humiliating. You'd think they'd come down on him hard. But that's not quite what happened.
There's a twist. There's always a twist with Dossena.
There is. The fascists, they were divided. Some, they saw Dossena as a criminal, a traitor, making Italy look bad. They wanted to punish him, make an example of him. But others, they saw it differently.
They saw it as an opportunity to spin the story.
Exactly. They realized Dossena was good. He'd fooled the best in the world. So they turned it around. They said, this is proof of Italian genius. Look how talented our artists are. They can even fool the experts.
Talk about a PR move. Taking a scandal and turning it into propaganda. It's amazing, really.
It is. And all this, it actually helped Dossena when he went to trial.
Okay, so the trial. It must have been a huge deal. The scandal, the government, all of it.
It was a circus. Everyone wanted to be there. Reporters, the public, everyone. They all wanted to see the man who'd fooled the art world. Dossena, he was like a celebrity, showing off his forging techniques in court. It was surreal. Part performance, part legal drama.
And through it all, Dossena kept saying he was innocent, right? That he never meant to trick anyone.
Yeah. He said he was just making art. Not trying to pass it off as something it wasn't. He never told anyone his stuff was ancient. He just sold them as sculptures. He said it was the buyers who jumped to conclusions. It was a smart defense, really. And in the end, it worked.
Hold on. You mean he got away with it? Mm-hmm. After everything, the scandal, the trial.
Yeah.
Not guilty.
Yep. There was a loophole in the law. Back then, in Italy, faking art wasn't actually a crime. So technically, Dossena hadn't done anything wrong. At least not legally.
But his reputation, that must have been ruined. Master forger? That's not exactly a compliment.
True. The art world saw him as a fraud. It's funny, though. When people thought his stuff was ancient, they praised it, the skill, the beauty, everything. But once they knew it was Dossena, all that went away. It makes you think, how much of art's value is just perception?
It really does. It's like, if you take away the context, the history, the supposed value, can you still appreciate Dossena's work for what it is? Just the art itself.
That's the question, isn't it? And it's something people are still debating. But one thing's for sure, Dosena's story is fascinating. All these twists and turns, it shows you this whole hidden world of art forgery. And it's a story about ambition, about wanting recognition, even if it comes at a price.
And that price, well, it was a steep one. Join us after the break as we explore what happened to Dossena after the trial and the legacy of the man who fooled the art world. Welcome back. We've been talking about Alcio Decena, the forger who tricked everyone.
And last we heard, he got off scot-free. Legally, at least. But his name, mud in the art world. So what happened to him after all that?
Yeah, incredibly talented, but now everyone knew he was a fake. Did he just disappear? Or did he try to, make a comeback?
Well, he didn't disappear. He actually tried to use the scandal to his advantage. There were exhibitions of his work, big cities, Berlin, Munich, even Paris. For a while, he was kind of a celebrity, the art world's bad boy, the ultimate con man.
I guess people love the story, more than the art itself, maybe. Makes you wonder, if they'd known from the start, would anyone have cared?
It's true, the whole deception, that's what made it exciting. But then the critics, they started saying, yeah, he's technically amazing, but there's no originality. Perfect copies, but where's Dossena himself in all of this?
So he got the fame, but not the way he wanted. Did he at least make some money? I mean, all that attention, it's got to be worth something, right?
Not really. The exhibitions, all the buzz, didn't translate to dollars. They had this auction in New York, 1933, 39 of his sculptures. It only made about $9,000. Peanuts compared to what his forgeries went for when people thought they were ancient.
It's kind of sad, honestly. All that talent, fooling the whole world, and in the end, no recognition, no fortune, just this weird footnote in art history.
It really shows you how fickle the art world is, how obsessed with authenticity. Dossena, he's like a warning, showing how easy it is to be tricked, even the experts.
Definitely makes you think. Maybe we should all be a little more skeptical, not take things at face value. Even in the art world, with all its fancy experts, there's always room for a con. So what do you think Dasena's legacy is? What did he leave behind?
Well, practically speaking, his case made authentication stricter. Museums got a lot more careful. But I think the real impact is bigger than that. Dossena makes you ask, does a forgery lose its beauty just because you know it's a fake?
Right.
Can you still appreciate the skill, the artistry, even if it was meant to deceive?
This was the Cas Crime Podcast, Curio Roar Crime. You've heard the facts, you've made your conclusions. Now it's up to you. Will you come back for more, or would you rather sleep peacefully?